All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Kleen-Rite Radio podcast. I'm Fix It with Phil. And as always, I'm here with my good buddy, Marc Tyndale. Marc, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great today, Phil. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm excited to jump into this episode with Solve Bearings. Ryan Linke is joining us today. We're talking about preventative maintenance, predictive maintenance. And then when we look at, we're replacing bearings, we're replacing parts, spending that little bit of extra on a better quality part can get us longer, get us a bigger longevity curve.
Yeah.
Right. And less downtime and actually less labor and maintenance.
Yeah. This is a great tail end to a series just about predictive maintenance versus preventative maintenance. Looking forward a little bit. Sometimes, having that better part to save you that labor and that downtime. And Solve was a great sponsor this season. So we want to thank you for that as well.
Yeah. Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good, guys. Thank you. We're excited at Solve, kick off the new year. Lots of exciting things coming up in this year. And, QCW, our car wash product, is one that, we've launched, but we really think that this will be the year that it takes off.
Yeah. So and I'm sorry, it's the QCW, right? What's that stand for?
Yeah, great question. So the QCW is Quadseal, the Q, and then CW, car wash. So really pretty simple. We mean what we say and say what we mean.
To dumb this down for just our folks out there who might buy bearings or look for bearings, a traditional bearing, how is it made versus the Quadseal?
Yeah, the Quadseal bearing is going to be a nickel-plated housing with a hard chrome insert, and then a Quadseal, right? The standard bearing that you would get would just be a carbon steel housing and a carbon steel insert, and most likely a single lip seal.
With a grease zerk that you have to grease all the time. The traditional.
Thanks for pointing that out, right? The QCW product is lubed for life, meaning that, when we send it to you, it is lubed for life. So it has all the lubrication it needs for the life of the bearing. The standard product, as we were talking about earlier, has a zerk. So, there's a maintenance schedule and a time that needs to be greased, depending on application and usage. But best practices would be at a minimum every other week, a half a pump of grease or something like that. So really cuts down on your labor as well as the life of the product. And that's really, where we find wins with the QCW product is the long life that it brings to our customers.
Yeah, when I was a distributor, one of the biggest issues we had, because we did a lot of preventive maintenance programs, there were two scenarios. One is people never greased their bearings and they waited for them to go out. Mm-hmm. Or two, service techs or the on-site techs over-grease the bearings, and then grease ends up on the top brush, ends up on the car, and then you have another issue with customer complaints.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing I'm hearing right now, right, is we can eliminate that grease cycle that has to happen as we're actually going through the tunnel or the IBA or whatever that is where this bearing is mounted. But I just want to be clear, right? That does not take away from your guys walking the tunnel, walking your machines, and doing that standard preventative maintenance. Solve has given you a way to take some of the time out of that and give you a little insurance or reassurance that your bearings are going to be good.
Yeah, all things break, right?
Yep.
It's just that this particular bearing lasts, I think you said in the prep, 4 times more than a standard bearing. The cost is roughly 2x, so it's a 2 times savings.
Yeah,
with a better component, and the real savings is not having to grease weekly or monthly, or some people grease by wash count.
Less downtime. And Ryan, I do remember you saying about that you guys had done a study, like a year-long study.
Yeah, we have a large partner on the West Coast that has multiple locations, and they allowed us to come in and do a complete change out of all their bearings, and we put in the QCW. It was 20 bearings for the whole tunnel system.
Yeah.
They got over 250,000 cycles or washes through that test, and they're still running today, actually. So it was a 1-year test, and the QCW product held up past that time. We're actually a year and about a quarter through, and they're still running just as to meet the customer's expectations. So yeah, 4 times. Prior to the QCW, they were changing them on a quarterly basis, right? So that would be 4 changes a year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not all locations, but certainly in some locations, they would have to change them quarterly. So with the QCW product, they've eliminated that downtime, right? So they always have availability of the equipment from a bearing standpoint. They don't have to go in and lube the product. And I want to, touch on something you guys mentioned. We have some data that shows once you get grease on those brushes, that you have to run it through 50 times, right? Just to get those brushes cleaned out with, Dawn dish soap or whatever, and continue to rush it through to get all that grease off the brushes.
Or take them off and treat them, which is the probably the proper way to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the bearings that you guys supply, what is the array or what is the range of bearings that you actually cover? Is it all tunnel stuff? Do we have IBA stuff?
Yeah, so all the sizes, right? We go up to, not all sizes, we go up to 2-inch, right? So from 3/4 of an inch to 2-inch in all the common configurations. So a pillow block, a 4-bolt flange, a 2-bolt flange. A lot of the tire brushes use a tapped base product. We have that same configuration as well. So we have the whole kind of breadth of products for that.
Yeah. So for a place that washes a lot of cars, it seems to me like, when you shut down, well, nobody likes to shut down, but if you shut down once a year and and you're doing 250 or 350 or 500,000 cars a year, you just do your bearings all at one time rather than doing, 5 or 6 every other month when they break. To me, that sounds like a good plan, part of a predictive maintenance plan.
Yeah. And that ties right back into the series, right? We are to plan out big service changes like that, right? And if we stay ahead of it, and Solve can help you with that, if you do all those bearings, like Marc is saying, all at one shot, you can predictively anticipate that within 3 to 4 years, you'll have to do it again. And you can plan for that, right? And that is the goal. Let's plan for all the work that needs to be done. Let's not react to the work that needs to be done. Yeah, I think that is a big mental save for a lot of operators out there. Some other questions that I have for you, Ryan, are, you said about all the different configurations that they can buy these bearings. Can people actually just buy just the bearing itself? Does it have to be in a block? Does it have to be in a 4-bolt? Does it have to be in a pillow block? Do you guys offer just bearings?
Yeah, so we can certainly provide just that bearing insert, right? If you had an existing housing that you wanted to put it into. What we find, though, is you're probably better off just getting the whole package at once and installing it that way. It's minimal cost savings. And that way, that it's everything, the specs and the internal clearance and everything are going to be set from the factory.
So the other angle from this in doing it, let's call it the right way, and getting all your bearings at 95 to 100% operation all year long, what people don't realize is there's the cost of the bearing, but when a bearing goes bad, usually it'll damage the shaft. Sometimes if the bearing stops, especially in a tunnel where you can't stop the car, sometimes it'll bend the brush shaft or the hubs. So you have more damage
to the car,
to the car. So we're not just talking bearings here. If you let a bearing go all the way out to where it needs to, because what happens, they wobble out and brush shafts are expensive too.
Yeah. So that 2X on bearings, when you look at the damages that can happen, all of those, the downtime, the labor it takes when you have to shut down, so the loss of business and whatnot, I mean, these bearings are actually paying you back faster than we're saying.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So I think it's, it's interesting. What are some other areas, like if a customer wanted to use Solve bearings, what's their easiest way to know that they're buying the right thing? I'm somewhat new to car wash and I need a bearing for, let's say, a Ryko machine. How do I find which one I need easiest?
Yeah, typically, right? So if we know our shaft size, that really gets us there. That's the first step, right? And then the configuration. How is it configured? Does it have 4 bolts, 2 bolts? Is it a tap base? Is it a pillow block? Then once you identify those 2 items, that's really all you need to put in the correct bearing.
Yeah, it's really simple.
Application.
It's really simple for Solve or Kleen-Rite to match it or cross it over, as long as the folks know the shaft size and the bolt pattern, right?
Yeah, and for the most part, certainly there's specials in every outside the things outside the norm, but for the most part, a 4-bolt flange with a 1-inch bore is going to have the same bolt pattern. As what came on your machine is what we're going to sell you back.
Ryan, I'm not a complete bearing expert, so really at this point, I'd like to ask you: is there some information? I'm sure there's information that you have that would be outside of maybe what Mark and I know about bearings or bearing maintenance, right? I know the Solve bearing has the Quadseal and all those types of attributes, but even with regular bearings, what are some hit list items that people should be doing, looking for, checking for when they are trying to do predictive and preventative maintenance with bearings?
Yeah, good question. I think when you look at, your operation, it's important to, look for any changes that you might have. Certainly, one of the biggest maintenance components to a bearing is lubrication, right? Mm-hmm. And with the QCW, we've eliminated that need, right? But even down the road, if there's changes in noise or changes in temperature, or
if your gearbox is hot, right?
Your gearbox is hot, maybe your amperage changes or your amp draw comes up, that would be a sign that there's something going on there. Mm-hmm. So, with your eyes and your ears and feel, or, you wouldn't want to touch a hot gearbox, you'd burn yourself. But those are some of the things to really look for if things are going to change, right? So any changes in the system, loose bolts would be a sign maybe that you had some misalignment issues, right? If you wore a bolt loose or something. An insert bearing has a spherical OD and it fits into that housing and it spins in. If that's off kilter, right, or not lined up perfect, not perfectly, but not lined up completely, it could also indicate that there's some misalignment in there, right? And you want to address that misalignment with it.
Yeah, I mean, in like any industry, the RPMs are super important with brush spins, mm-hmm. right? And if your bearing's going bad, which could take your gearbox out, which could cause other things, you should notice a difference, like you said, in sound or in, RPMs. Just a good visual site manager a lot of times can notice if a wrap is not coming in or coming out, and the RPMs are usually what changes those bumps. Yep. And the speed of the conveyor. So, I mean, this is important for people to understand the importance of the little things that can cost them a lot.
Yeah, and taking the time before the day starts to actually walk the tunnel, look at your machine. If you have multiple sites and you're running all rollovers or IBAs, right? When you get to a site, or your guy gets to a site, or your team's out there, right? These are some of the things that you guys should be looking at, right? Let's wash a car. Let's spin a brush, and let's see if it sounds right. Let's see if it looks right. You can use some of your sensory attributes to, basically pinpoint a problem before a problem actually turns into a problem, right? If you see a brush that looks like it's wobbling, there's something probably wrong with it. Right?
Yeah. The top operators, if you notice when they come in the morning and when they leave at night, it's just like jumping on an airplane. The pilot gets out, he checks his props, he checks make sure his flaps are going up and down right. Yeah. And the good operators walk through the tunnel in the morning and they look at this stuff, and then at the end of the day, they do the same thing.
Yep.
The ones that aren't doing that, they're just flipping the lights on and washing cars. And I think part of the series is to try to get people to be that top guy and check your stuff out.
Yeah, take the couple minutes, do your due diligence, right? And then as you do that, you're only going to set yourself up for success. And then as you move into making mechanical and maintenance decisions, picking the right parts that can get you longevity, that can get you a little bit of mental assurance that, you're not going to have to worry about that item for a while, is worth extra money, right? Yeah. Or is just worth the decision in itself, right? It'll pay you back in dividends.
Yeah. It's a daily, weekly investment that can help you actually make more money at the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ryan, is there anything else out there in the Solve universe that needs to get out to the public?
Yeah, I just kind of talk about what we've discussed. The QCW Car Wash bearing, we think that it provides a zero maintenance, right? So there's no regreasing, nothing you have to do with that. You can set it, install it, and just wash cars, right? It extends the life. A lot of our studies say 4 times the life at a minimum. We think as we get more data down the road, it's even going to be greater than that. And it's proven, right? We've got these running in multiple locations across multiple states, warm environments, cold environments, all of it performing at a high performance. So with the QCW product, you have a really high quality, high performing product that you can put in your system that's going to allow you to worry about other things and focus your time and your maintenance dollars in other areas, not on your bearings.
Yeah, I think the important thing for people to remember, because there's a lot of new operators in the industry that obtained a lot of locations very quickly, and they think they have to go back to their OEM for the same bearing over and over and over again. Now, some of them have figured out that you can source that through Kleen-Rite, but I think it's important to know that this is a fairly universal product, right? It's take one off, put another one on. There's not bearings have probably done a better job with universality, if that's a word, than almost anything else in the industry, because it's not like that with a lot of other components. So this is an easy, low-hanging fruit for operators to improve their operation.
Yep, I agree 100%.
Yeah. Wow. So, we could talk about bearings all day, I think, but at the end of the day, I think between the three of us, we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, we laid out a really nice platform for people to understand that you can get yourself into a better bearing. You can pull yourself out of some regular maintenance to save yourself some time and just give yourself that mental reassurance that, hey, I'm using a quality product here. I'm not going to have to grease it. And it's going to give me up to 4 times the life of a normal bearing.
Yep, and we have a great partner in Solve, and we will solve your problem by finding the right bearing for you, on time, and we'll have them on the shelf. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, do you have anything else that you want to say before we close out?
You guys hit it really good. I'd just say reach out to your Kleen-Rite representative and ask them about the QCW product and what we can provide to you.
Awesome. Are you going to be at the Southwest show?
I am. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay, you going to be at the big barbecue?
I'm not sure, but if there's barbecue, I'll be there.
Okay, day before. We'll have lots of people there. You can come check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Looking forward to it.
All right.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate your time.
All right, guys, that's going to close out today's episode with Solve, our sponsor for this series. Ryan did a great job giving us an explanation of the quad bearing. Guys, I just want to reiterate, if you are about to change bearings, give Solve a good look and make sure you're using a high-quality bearing. And if you need help finding those bearings, you need a place to get those bearings, or you just need some information, give us a call, Kleen-Rite, and we'll get you fixed up.
Take care of you.